They were brothers. They were the most dominant tag team in WWE, destroying everyone put in front of them, building towards what everyone thought would be an unstoppable run with championship gold. And then Bron Breakker, the second-generation superstar who everyone believed had honor and loyalty in his DNA, just stabbed Bronson Reed in the back in the most vicious and cowardly attack Monday Night Raw has seen in years. No warning, no explanation, just pure betrayal that has left Bronson Reed hospitalized with serious injuries and the entire WWE universe demanding answers about why Bron would destroy the one person who had his back through everything. When I show you the brutal footage of this attack, when I reveal what Paul Heyman said backstage that suggests Roman Reigns might be behind this betrayal, and when I explain why this could be the beginning of the most devastating faction warfare WWE has ever produced, you're going to be furious and you're going to understand why some wrestlers are already saying this is the most shocking betrayal since Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. Let me paint the picture of what happened on Monday Night Raw, because if you only saw the clips on social media, you missed the context that makes this betrayal so much worse. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed have been partners for the past 2 months, brought together initially as rivals who developed mutual respect after a series of brutal matches. They realized they were more valuable as allies than enemies, that their combined power and intensity made them essentially unstoppable as a team. Over those 2 months, they demolished the New Day, destroyed Alpha Academy, and were being positioned as the next challengers for the World Tag Team Championships. But more importantly, they had developed what appeared to be a genuine friendship. Backstage segments showed them strategizing together, supporting each other's individual ambitions, and building the kind of trust that made their partnership feel authentic rather than just a temporary alliance of convenience. Bronson Reed, in particular, had opened up about how having Bron as a partner reminded him of the brotherhood he experienced early in his career before WWE released him the first time. Bron was giving interviews talking about how working with Bronson had made him a better performer and a better person, how Bronson taught him patience and strategy instead of just relying on raw power and athleticism. Monday's Raw opened with Bron and Bronson scheduled to face the Judgment Day's Finn Balor and Damian Priest in what was being billed as a #1 contenders match for the tag team titles. The match was incredible, exactly the kind of hard-hitting, physical contest that both teams excel at. Bron and Bronson were working with perfect chemistry, making tags at the right moments, cutting off the ring, isolating Priest, and working over his previously injured ribs. The crowd was completely invested, chanting for both teams, sensing they were watching something special. Then it happened. Bronson Reed climbed to the top rope to hit his devastating tsunami splash on Damian Priest. This was the moment everyone expected to be the finish, the move that would secure Bron and Bronson's victory and set up their tag team championship match. Bronson was perched on the top turnbuckle, the crowd was on their feet anticipating the impact, and Bron was in the corner waiting to celebrate with his partner. Except Bron didn't wait to celebrate. As Bronson leaped off the top rope, as he was completely vulnerable in midair with no way to protect himself, Bron Breakker shoved Damian Priest out of the way and let Bronson crash full force into the mat with no one to break his fall. The sound of Bronson hitting the canvas echoed through the arena. It was the sickening thud of a 270-pound man falling from 10 feet up and landing with all his weight on his chest and head. The crowd went silent in confusion, not understanding what just happened or whether it was an accident. Bronson was lying motionless in the center of the ring, clearly hurt badly. The referee immediately threw up the X signal calling for medical attention. But Bron didn't show any concern or remorse. Instead, he rolled out of the ring, grabbed a steel chair from ringside, and rolled back in with a look of cold calculation that told everyone this was no accident. What happened next was absolutely brutal and will be replayed in highlight packages for years as one of the most vicious attacks in Raw history. Bron took that steel chair and proceeded to deliver 11 consecutive chair shots to Bronson Reed's defenseless body. Shots to the back that echoed through the arena. Shots to the legs that were clearly targeting Bronson's knees to destroy his mobility. Shots to the arms and shoulders to damage Bronson's ability to lift opponents or deliver his power moves. And finally, a chair shot directly to the back of Bronson's head that left visible dents in the steel and left Bronson in a pool of his own blood. The Judgment Day members, Finn and Damian, just rolled out of the ring and backed up the ramp, clearly as shocked as everyone else and wanting no part of Bron's rampage. WWE officials and referees rushed the ring trying to stop Bron, but he threatened them with the chair until security personnel finally surrounded him and forced him to drop the weapon and leave the ring. Bron walked up the ramp backwards, staring at Bronson's broken body, showing absolutely no remorse or emotion beyond cold satisfaction that he had accomplished whatever goal he had in mind. The medical staff worked on Bronson for nearly 10 minutes before they could safely move him onto a stretcher. Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary were genuinely shaken, with Cole saying multiple times, "I don't understand why Bron would do this." They were brothers. They trusted each other. The crowd was chanting asshole at Bron and Bronson Reed in support of the injured wrestler as he was wheeled out of the arena with a neck brace on and an oxygen mask over his face. The visual of Bronson Reed, one of the most intimidating and powerful wrestlers on the roster, being taken out on a stretcher because his own partner betrayed him, that image is going to haunt WWE programming for weeks. Raw went to commercial break, and when they came back, Triple H was standing in the ring with a microphone looking absolutely furious. Triple H announced that Bron Breakker has been suspended indefinitely pending an investigation into his actions and that there would be serious consequences for what he did. But Triple H also said something interesting that has everyone speculating about deeper conspiracies. He said what Bron did tonight was reprehensible and cowardly. But I also know that sometimes wrestlers don't act alone. Sometimes they're encouraged or manipulated by others who stand to benefit from chaos and betrayal. We're going to get to the bottom of who, if anyone, put Bron up to this. That statement from Triple H immediately got people thinking about who could have influenced Bron to turn on Bronson. The obvious suspect is Paul Heyman and by extension Roman Reigns. Heyman has been actively recruiting talent for Roman's new faction, and Bron Breakker would be a perfect addition to Roman's army. Bron has the pedigree as a second-generation star, the athleticism and power that Roman values, and now he's proven he's willing to do whatever it takes to advance his position, including betraying someone who trusted him completely. That willingness to prioritize personal ambition over loyalty is exactly the quality Roman looks for when building his faction. Reports from Backstage at Raw confirmed that Paul Heyman was seen talking to Bron Breakker in the hours before the show started. Multiple wrestlers and staff members witnessed Heyman and Bron in a private conversation in a hallway away from most of the roster. When Heyman left that conversation, he allegedly had a satisfied smile on his face, the same expression he gets when he successfully manipulated someone into doing exactly what he wanted. When confronted by a WWE producer about what he was discussing with Bron, Heyman reportedly said, "Just giving career advice to a young talent who has the potential to be something special in this business if he makes the right choices." Bronson Reed's condition following the attack is serious according to sources at the hospital where he was taken. Initial reports suggest Bronson suffered a severe concussion from the chair shot to the head, potential fractured ribs from the repeated chair shots to his torso, and a possible knee injury from the targeted attacks to his legs. The most concerning injury is the concussion because this is Bronson's second documented concussion in the past year, and multiple concussions in a short timeframe dramatically increase the risk of long-term neurological damage. There's legitimate concern that Bronson might be out of action for several months while he recovers, and in the worst-case scenario, his career could be in jeopardy if doctors determine the risk of further head trauma is too dangerous. The locker room reaction to Bron's betrayal has been intense and divided. Some wrestlers are expressing sympathy for Bronson and condemning Bron's actions as indefensible regardless of whatever motivation he might eventually reveal. These wrestlers are calling for Bron to be fired, not just suspended, arguing that this kind of premeditated attack that causes serious injury crosses the line from storyline to legitimate assault. They're concerned that if Bron faces no real consequences beyond a storyline suspension, it sets a precedent that this kind of behavior is acceptable. Other wrestlers, particularly those who are ambitious and frustrated with their positioning, are reportedly more understanding of Bron's actions even if they won't say so publicly. These wrestlers see Bron as someone who recognized that staying in a tag team with Bronson Reed was limiting his potential as a single star, and who made the ruthless but necessary decision to eliminate his partner and forge his own path. In their view, wrestling is a cutthroat business where loyalty is a luxury you can't afford if you want to reach the top, and Bron simply did what he needed to do to advance his career. The comparison to Seth Rollins' Shield betrayal is inevitable and completely appropriate. Seth famously turned on his Shield brothers Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose by hitting them with chairs and aligning with the Authority, and that betrayal became one of the most iconic moments of the past decade. Seth was vilified at the time, but that heel turn ultimately elevated him to main event status and led to multiple world championship reigns. Bron's betrayal of Bronson Reed has the potential to be similarly defining for his career if WWE books it properly. The question is whether Bron can generate the same level of heat that Seth did, whether fans will hate him enough to make him a truly special villain, or whether this attack just comes across as senseless cruelty that makes people not want to watch him. The women's locker room is reportedly particularly disturbed by Bron's attack because of how calculated and brutal it was. Several female wrestlers have expressed concern that WWE is glorifying violence and betrayal in ways that send troubling messages about masculinity and competition. They're worried that younger fans watching might internalize the idea that betraying people who trust you is an acceptable path to success, that loyalty and friendship are weaknesses to be exploited rather than values to be honored. These concerns have been raised with WWE's HR department and management, though it's unclear whether they'll result in any changes to how the storyline is presented going forward. Bron Breakker's family legacy makes this betrayal even more shocking and disappointing to many people. Bron's father is Rick Steiner and his uncle is Scott Steiner, two of the most respected tough guys in wrestling history. The Steiner brothers were known for being legitimate fighters who backed up their tough guy personas with real toughness and skill. They built their careers on being reliable, hard-working professionals who honored the business. For Bron to engage in this kind of cowardly, backstabbing attack feels like a betrayal not just of Bronson Reed but of his family's legacy and everything they represented in wrestling. Some fans are speculating that Bron's attack on Bronson is actually setting up a much larger storyline involving multiple betrayals across both Raw and SmackDown. The theory is that Roman Reigns is systematically recruiting the most dangerous and ambitious talent on both brands, and that Bron's betrayal of Bronson is just the first domino to fall. According to this theory, we're going to see multiple established tag teams and factions implode as members betray each other to join Roman's army. The Judgment Day might fracture with Finn betraying Damian. The New Day could finally split with someone turning on their brothers. Even the Street Profits or other long-standing teams could be targeted for destruction as Roman builds his faction by poaching one member and forcing them to destroy their former partners as proof of loyalty. The timing of Bron's attack is suspicious in terms of WWE's upcoming premium live events and championship picture. The World Tag Team Championships are currently held by a team that many fans feel has gotten stale and needs fresh challengers. Bron and Bronson were being positioned as the next challengers, but now that team is destroyed. This creates an opening for other teams to step up, but it also creates the possibility that Bron wasn't actually trying to advance in the tag team division at all. Bron might have realized that being a tag team wrestler, even a successful one, limits your earning potential and your positioning compared to being a single star. By destroying his partnership with Bronson in such spectacular fashion, Bron has guaranteed himself attention and a singles push that he might not have received if he had just asked for a split from Bronson through normal storyline means. Paul Heyman's potential role in orchestrating this betrayal brings additional layers of intrigue. Heyman is a master manipulator who has decades of experience identifying talent, understanding their insecurities and ambitions, and exploiting those psychological pressure points to get people to do what he wants. If Heyman approached Bron and said something like, "You're a second-generation star with world championship potential, but you're wasting your time and your prime years being Bronson Reed's partner instead of being the guy. If you want Roman's protection and support, if you want to be positioned at the top of Raw, you need to prove you're willing to do whatever it takes. Prove it by eliminating the thing holding you back." That would be classic Heyman manipulation that Bron might have fallen for. The question of whether Bronson Reed will seek revenge when he returns from injury is almost rhetorical because of course he will. Bronson is positioned as a monster who destroys everything in his path when he's motivated by anger. Imagine Bronson coming back after months of recovery, his body healed but his mind consumed with rage about what Bron did to him. Imagine Bronson on a path of destruction targeting not just Bron but anyone associated with Roman's faction, becoming a one-man wrecking crew motivated purely by revenge. That character arc could be incredibly compelling and could elevate Bronson to main event status in his own right. The match where Bronson Reed eventually gets his hands on Bron Breakker is going to be must-see television. The build-up will write itself with Bronson making it clear that he's going to end Bron's career the same way Bron tried to end his. The match stipulation will need to be something brutal and unforgiving, maybe a street fight or a Falls Count Anywhere match or even a cage match where Bron can't run away from Bronson's wrath. And the finish needs to give Bronson a satisfying victory that feels like appropriate payback for the betrayal. WWE cannot book this as Bron retaining his heat by cheating to win or by having interference save him. Bronson needs to decisively beat Bron, preferably in a way that mirrors the betrayal by having Bronson hit his tsunami splash on Bron from the top of a cage or through a table or some other devastating variation that shows Bronson got his revenge. The merchandise opportunities from this betrayal are significant. WWE can sell Bron Breakker sold-out shirts for people who want to boo him. They can sell Bronson Reed Revenge Tour shirts for people supporting the betrayed partner. They can create video packages and documentary content examining the betrayal from multiple angles. From a pure business perspective, a compelling betrayal angle like this can drive interest and revenue in ways that standard competition-based storylines sometimes can't. Bron Breakker attacking Bronson Reed isn't just another Monday Night Raw angle. This is a defining moment for both wrestlers that will shape their characters and their careers for years to come. Bron is now positioned as one of Raw's top heels, someone the audience will pay money to see get beaten. Bronson is positioned as a sympathetic figure seeking righteous revenge, someone the audience will support and cheer. And if Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns are indeed behind this betrayal, it adds another layer to the already complex power dynamics on Raw and sets up potential faction warfare that could dominate WWE programming for months. The question now is whether WWE has the creative vision and follow-through to capitalize on this shocking moment and build it into something truly special, or whether this becomes another great start that fizzles out due to lack of planning and commitment. Based on what we've seen so far, the foundation is there for something incredible. Now WWE just needs to not screw it up.